Well, hello, and welcome to Old People This Week podcast. My name is Jeff. That handsome rascal sitting there, that's Mike. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everyone.
Old People This Week is a podcast for 60-year-olds and older, people who have a sprightly intelligence, who are not afraid to know what's going on in the world, and who are eager for the knowledge that we have to impart upon them. If you are of the subscribe to the I'm falling down and can't get up school of aging, then this podcast probably isn't for you.
Stay down.
Yeah, stay down. Every week we look at the stories behind the stories, the interesting facts, and just generally what's going on so that you sound smart when you're with your friends playing golf, at the gym, just hanging out at the club, or, of course, at happy hour, where Mike and I do our best research.
In depth. Seeking information.
Yeah, seeking information. You seek information at happy hour. That's us. Every week, we give you a task to accomplish. If you'd like to, there will be a link to that at the end of the show. There's also an Instagram account with our name on it that we proudly present. And of course, we want you to subscribe to this podcast because then we'll become rich and famous. That's what we are seeking in this endeavor.
In that order.
In that order. Well, to get right into it, of course, there's a big announcement in the Golden Bachelor world that you turned me on to. There's a flyer that went out or that was disseminated online for the Golden Bachelorette, in which it said they're now casting for good senior men looking for love for the Golden Bachelorette show that will probably come in the next year or so. And that's big news now.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine the race?
It was such a popular show that I imagine that hundreds of thousands of single men all across the country are putting in applications right now.
Yeah, perfecting their resumes, working out twice a day.
Yeah,
hiring an agent.
Practicing how to knock boots.
Yeah. Speaking of, did you see that Gary signed with a publicity agent to represent his burgeoning career?
He signed with the Gersh agency, which is one of the larger, more influential Hollywood agencies.
Yeah.
Yeah, they handle actors, they handle writers. They used to be a writers agency, and now they clearly handle personalities. It's evidently they think there's money to be made off Gary. He could probably be, he could star in those commercials about like Flomax or all those kind of medicines that come with 1,000 disclaimers, and now they can front it with Gary Turner.
I was wondering did Teresa get a contract as well? I wonder because she's up for an award, very important award.
Very important People's Choice Awards award that she's up for contestant, a reality show contestant.
I had no idea. Is that even a real thing?
Well, it is. It's not like the Oscars at the People's Choice. They don't have set, categories that have gone on for 90 years. This is People's Choice Award comes up with categories as they seem deemed fit.
Yeah.
And especially if they want to get somebody on the show, so they want Teresa on there to try to get ratings, and they come up with a category for her.
Oh, got it. Okay.
By the way, I noticed in the flyer for the senior men looking for love for the Golden Bachelorette, it said the applicants have to be legal residents of the United States or Canada, and then in quotations, except Quebec. So for some reason, Quebec men are not wanted for this show.
Well, they can't speak French on the show.
But I thought it was maybe because Quebec guys are just ugly or stupid or they just don't want, maybe they don't even air the show there. Well,
it's funny, the recruiting thing. If you watch, and I know you are glued to it now, the new Bachelor, a lot of the women are from Canada. Several of the women who made the first cut are from Canada, so they must be doing some recruiting up there.
Well, in the 20 years they've done The Bachelor on American TV, they've probably gone through all the randy, crazy women that are available in America, and they've had to extend extend their reach into Canada.
Yeah, and those that aren't are cast in Bachelor in Paradise, running around in bikinis in Costa Rica or somewhere.
Yeah, that's the most radical of them all. They should do Golden Bachelorettes in Paradise and get the guys in thongs running around at some resort.
No,
That'll
please
get
no.
ratings.
Please no.
And here's some advice for Gary. There was a article that I sent you on what's called gray divorce. The divorce rate has doubled since 1990 for men, for American men over 55. For couples over 65, the rate has tripled. So that's a phenomenon, and not a good one according to this article, because if you decide to get a divorce, it's going to cost you financially, and that's what the gist of the article was about. And that's good advice for Gary, who's now, he sort of rushed into this marriage. Hopefully he won't be looking at gay divorce in a few years.
Yeah, no.
Gray divorce.
Gray divorce. Well, hopefully not gay divorce either.
Yeah.
That's a staggering number though, that increase. I wonder what that's due to. I have no idea.
It's due to
I'm done with you. I'm tired of your ass. You're out of here.
It's that they get to the old folks' home, they look around, they see a lot of other older women that are more appealing, and these guys are like, "See ya, honey," or the other way around. The other way around could be.
Yeah.
Well, at any rate, on to TikTok, which they're on a TikTok video that has been seen nearly 20 million times. This guy named Jordan Howlett, a 26-year-old with a dense beard and professorial glasses, according to this article. He says that he thinks that he and other members of Gen X look more mature in general because of the stressors heaped upon their generation. So in all things, the people from Gen Z will blame someone older than them for whatever happened, whatever malady they suffer. In this case, that they happen to look older.
Yeah, poor little things. Give me the top 10 stressors that these poor little things face.
They have to, how to swipe on Tinder. There's a stressor.
I don't get it. I mean,
they have plenty of stressors, I imagine, because the world has become so fast, and it's a lot tougher probably to find jobs, and certainly to find homes and buy a house and all that stuff. But it's not a phenomenon that's making people look older, is what they intimated. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Of all the things to worry about.
Yeah. Well, here's a person who doesn't worry about much. The 90-year-old talk show host. Her name is Tetsuko Kuryo Anaji. And I think I pronounced that right. I've been practicing for 24 hours to get that right. And she...
remarkably well.
Thank you. I didn't know I was bilingual. She's 90 years old, and she's a Japanese talk show host in Tokyo. And she's about ready to record her 193rd episode of her show, which is called Tetsuko's Room.
God love her.
She looked pretty crazy, but I loved her too. I'll send you a link or a picture. You can take a look at her. Now, I thought to myself, who is the American equivalent of Ms. Kuryo Yanagi? And it's Ryan Seacrest. I think Ryan Seacrest has hosted maybe 10 or 13,000 more episodes of whatever, and that's since 1976, since 1996.
Yeah, and he's what, late 40s, 50s?
Seacrest would be in his late 40s.
Yeah.
I knew him when he was in his 30s, and that was in 2006 to 2010. And so that would have been about 13 years ago. So yeah, he'd be in his in his late 30s now, 38, 39, something like that.
Interesting. What's interesting, and you bring up Ryan Seacrest, I can't think of anyone in the industry, and you were in the industry for years, who would be allowed to do what Tetsuko has done in Japan.
Well, yeah, there was Bob Barker was around for a long time. Bob Barker,
Yeah,
Truth and Consequence, he probably was in his late 80s before he retired. And
yeah,
I'll tell you, I saw Casey Kasem in person at one time, and Casey Kasem was ancient by the time he retired. Yeah. So, at any rate, she deserves our kudos. She's still around, and as you can see, she's a handsome woman and still going strong at 90.
yeah. I think it's remarkable. Good for her.
It is remarkable. I wonder what I know. I wonder if they're dependent on ratings. So I wonder what her ratings are. If she's still popular with the fans. Clearly, if they're a ratings and revenue-driven system like we are, then she must. The people must watch her religiously,
She's
no
doing
matter what.
something right. Yeah,
Yeah, she's doing something right.
yeah.
I'm trying to think of somebody that I know in my life that's that old and still doing their job. I know last week we talked about there was a 90-year-old barber, and the woman who worked at a store in Ohio till she was 150. But the I'm trying to think in my world or our world out where we live, you don't see like 100-year-old bartenders or people that old. Maybe you see them at the golf course. You see oldsters like that at the golf course.
Yeah, some, but not even. I mean, most of the golfers I see at the course are maybe in the late 50s to mid 70s. But I don't see, I can't recall of any golfers in their 80s or 90s that I see on a regular basis at all.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a sport for the old folk. And you don't see them on the pickleball court. They just pat. They would
Oh
not
God,
last.
no.
No,
No,
it's
that's
too
why
much.
there's an ambulance parked next to every pickleball court.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. All right. Well, so my next topic is one that I love, which is how to piss off a millennial, which is I have children who are millennials, and so there's nothing better than to make them, get them riled up. And so I came up with 7 ways to piss off a millennial. You tell them, number 1, that they're lazy. um, And then when I told this, by the way, to my son who's a millennial, he said, "We work with patience and slow movements."
Yeah.
Number 2 is they're too sensitive. They take simple jokes, they get really upset. They're full of angst. They cry a lot. They just can't take it. Number 3, if you want to piss off a millennial, tell them that they don't dress professionally. And again, one of my children said to me, "We don't focus on dressing. We believe that skill is everything."
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And this is true. It'll piss them off, but this is actually true, is that they are addicted to technology. And this is because I've told them that it's because they had internet when they were born practically.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, they were electronically extruded into this world.
yeah, they look at screens from the time they were little. That was my fault probably because I would plop them in front of a screen to keep them busy. But that's a way to piss them off because they don't want to believe that.
Yeah.
The fifth way is to tell them that they award themselves for everything, and they shoot back. Well, you gave us trophies for everything, so it's your fault, and that's probably true too. We did become trophy crazy in my day, and gave those kids anything that no matter what they did, they had
Yeah.
they had a ice cream cone after a game. Here's a trophy.
Yeah. Participation trophies.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
and that was my fun. That was my bad. Number 6 is I tell them that they can't handle criticism. They don't, and so mind you, the first 5 things were criticisms, and when they bitch back, then I get them from the backside, say, "Well, you can't handle the criticism."
Yeah.
And
See, I told you so.
yeah, makes them just angrier. And the last thing is number 7 is that they lack focus. Um, they think themselves that they claw back on this and say that they're perfect in every way, and they don't necessarily have to listen to everything I say. That's where the lack of focus is.
Oh, I'd be curious to know what your sons think of our podcast. Do they give you advice on what you could be doing better in this age of technology?
Yeah, they do. They give me tons of them. One of my sons did a podcast while he was in college, and so he has plenty of advice for me. How to be more focused and not, what we do, you and I do, is we're hacking up and coughing half the time and looking, stray, and we get the camera levels wrong, and a lot of things that I cover up with the edits, but that's the magic of it.
Yeah, but I'll bet we're having more fun than they are. So
yeah, I know I'm having more fun than I am. I don't have to go to work every morning. Anywho, I also wanted to bring out that article you sent me about this guy, Brian Johnson. This guy.
Isn't that frightening?
Well, before we get into the frightening part of it, first there's this guy himself. So he is a 45-year-old multi-millionaire. So not billionaire. I didn't realize that when I read this. He's not a billionaire. So maybe we shouldn't even listen to him because he's only a millionaire, not a billionaire.
Yeah. What does he know?
Yeah. What does he know? He's no Steve Jobs. He's best known for being the founder of a company called Braintree. And then somehow after he made his millions selling Braintree, he became obsessed with growing old. And he's gone to extreme lengths and spending millions of dollars to try and stay young. And amongst the other things he does is he takes over 100 pills a day. And this is a sort of a Dracula style. He has blood transfusions, takes blood transfusions from his teenage son. So the idea, I guess, is that if you have young blood, your body will turn young.
I'm the more I read about that and thought about it, this guy, I don't want to be around him.
No, did you see the pictures? Did you see the pictures of him I'm posting here? He's really super in shape. But when you get to go into your son and say, "Hey, son, give me a blood transfusion."
Yeah, I need a quart. Top me up.
Top me up. And don't go to school today. I need some blood. Just stay here and rest, and we'll send you later on.
God.
But the classic part of this, and the reason you sent me the article, was that of the many wacky things he's doing to stay young, is he has shock wave therapy on his penis because he wants his erections to be as strong as a teenager. And I quote, "The goal is to be erect for 3 hours and 30 minutes a night," he said about his plans for penis rejuvenation in an X post. So now, first of all, to break this, to unwrap this.
Yeah, where do you even begin? Where do you even begin?
How do you do shockwave therapy on your penis? Do you get those things like they have in the hospital and shock your penis every day?
Clear.
Clear. That's queer, all right. My wife would clear out. If I went to my wife and I said I'm going to have an erection for the next 3 hours and 30 minutes, she would be in the car and drive to Arizona.
Yeah, honey, I need you to turn on my shockwave machine.
Yeah. First, before you go, turn on this and help me out here. So he's equivocating the idea that being young is you have to be erect for hours a day.
Frightening.
I mean, that's true. When you're younger, you are clearly more able to maintain that. But this guy's a nutcase. I wonder what he says to his teenage son about that.
Well,
hey, Dad, what are you up to?
I'm just trying to think back. Even when I was young and more interested in it, 3 hours a day? I don't think so. You couldn't get anything done.
No, I couldn't be at work. I'd be in the HR office all day.
No, you'd be in the unemployment office all day.
That guy, they'd go, he's walking around with an erection all day. What the hell?
Yeah.
You just have to stay home, I guess, by yourself. Anyway.
And then what's the point if you're home by yourself with a 3-hour erection? It's kind
I
of
would
defeats.
really love to, if any woman is watching this, I would love to get a female perspective on this, whether or not that is something that a woman would think is attractive or interesting or even rational, as if that a man would go to these lengths to have an erection for 3 hours and 30 minutes a day, if that's
Yeah.
his goal.
No,
And
they already went screaming from the room. Trust me.
Yeah. The woman would say, I'll go along with the first hour. You can take the other 2 hours and 30 minutes and have fun on your own.
Exactly.
Peace. All right. Anyways, to more pedestrian parts of the show, I was going to tell you I'm streaming True Detective I think it's on Apple TV, and that's with Jodie Foster. It's really good. New iteration of that series that used to be on HBO.
Yeah.
Always bizarre. And then Masters of the Air, and that's the story of the continuing of the Band of Brothers. It was Band of Brothers about the fighters in Europe in World War II.
Yeah.
Then it was the battle in the Pacific, and now it's back in Europe again, but it's the air fighters, and it's produced by Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg. It stars the guy who played Elvis, and who, by the way, is incapable of sounding anything other than like Elvis Presley, even in this new role. He literally sounds exactly like Elvis Presley flying in a B-52 Fortress over Germany. He could break out in song at any minute. So but I like the guy, by the way. He's a good actor. He's playing a role of a guy who he doesn't drink, which is, by the way, part and parcel with any World War II. That the guys are drinking and smoking. He doesn't either, and he's level-headed, and he's stalwart in the terms of he's going to survive this thing, and he's going to help the men with him survive. So I like him. It's a good show.
Cool.
And then the last one I started watching was on Hulu. I don't know if you have Hulu. It's called Death and Other Details, which is one of those shows just like a Murder on the Orient Express or Death on the Nile. It's of that ilk, in which there's a young woman and a master detective, and they partnered up, and they're stuck on a cruise ship, and there's a murder, and they're going to solve it. And it's and that kind of appeals more to me. I like those mysteries like that. So that's a good one if anyone gets a chance to check it out.
It's kind of like White Lotus on a cruise ship.
Yeah, it's White Lotus, a murder, which a guy gets shot, by the way, with a gun that you would use to shoot fish in the water. So it's a gun with a barrel,
spear gun.
but it's got rope attached to it, like around a spindle, and you shoot it into the water, and you're on the boat. And then once it's hit the manta ray, or unfortunately maybe the shark you didn't mean to hit, then you pull it into the boat. But he got shot with it and impaled it upon him in his stateroom at this on this cruise ship. So they're trying to find out who did that to him.
Have you tuned into Beef, the one we talked about last week?
No, I have not. And again, I ran across it. I just saw it last night. I saw a picture of the guy, and I'll get to it. It's like everything else in the world of streaming. I have a list in front of me that could go on now till I'll have to pass it on to my kids. It's part of my will. To my kids, you get this, and also you have to stream Beef, at some point.
Yeah, and the latest Reacher. The latest Reacher is also really good. Yeah,
I saw it. I watched the entire latest Reacher, and at the I won't be a spoiler, but in the last episode when he's handcuffed, by the way, and he beats the shit out of about 10 guys, and he is not like a Bruce Lee, he's not thin and agile and stuff. This dude he's
a monster.
He's a monster, and he's kicking around. He's throwing people all over the place with his hands tucked behind him, which made it all the more impressive, but kind of phony at the same time. Yeah. But always in those shows like that, he's surrounded by guys with guns. Instead of just shooting him and killing him,
Yeah.
They go and they deliberately get into it with him, and then he kicks the hell out of them.
Go figure.
All right. For our final story, I wanted to do a shout out to my friend. His name is Dave Corlett. He wrote me an article called "People Who Are Truly Happy in Their Retirement Usually Adopt These 7 Daily Habits," and I've listed the article and the site where it is available below. Dave is one of our subscribers, so we got to be nice to him.
Oh, good.
Final story: our Florida man. Of course, we can't end the show without talking about our dear friends down in Florida. But this was actually not a Florida man who perpetrated this evil deed, but this was a guy visiting from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And by the way, the Pennsylvania guys could be just as nonsensical as their counterparts in Florida. He was arrested for disorderly intoxication after he allegedly, and this is in quotes, sexually molested a manatee statue at a restaurant after he was asked to leave. He also reportedly threw gator nuggets into the restaurant. Now, first thing is, you see a picture of a manatee there. They're called sea cows, so I don't know why you'd want to be sexually molest anything that looks like that anyways. But it must have been a statue at a restaurant, and he must have went at it like I had a dog that used to go after my leg, and I imagine it's the same. With the same fervor he went after this manatee.
That'd kind of take the edge off your romantic dinner if you were in the restaurant.
Yeah, you're sitting there and some guy is dry humping a manatee statue in the foyer of your restaurant. Thank you. And then I think gator nuggets are just another way of saying tater tots, where they rename something to be interesting. But as he was leaving, he's pitching gator nuggets into the restaurant. So hopefully they give him time in jail and he can think about, that you don't necessarily attack inanimate objects, let alone if those objects are manatee statues. All right. Well, everybody, check out our Substack page. I got the link below, so you can get your task for this week. I hope you saw last week's. It was a good one. And then make sure you subscribe as we asked you to do. We demand you do.
We demand you do. We know where you live. We'll come find you. Make sure you subscribe. We can be very persuasive.
Yeah, we can be extremely persuasive. We can be persuasive like Reacher. I'll come into your house and just tear it down. I'm so strong and mighty. And check us out on Instagram. We try to post every day, though we're lazy and we don't always do it. Mike, I need you to put more up there, by the way.
I'm trying my best.
All right. Next time you assault a manatee, make sure you take a picture of it and put it up there. All right, everybody, have a great week. Remember, you're old. You're not old. You're just aging.
You're aging.
And aging. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye, Mike.
Take care, Jeff. Goodbye, everyone.